Hi everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about percent proportions. Now, percent proportions are useful in solving percent problems. So let's think back, what does percent mean? So here we have 90%. 90% can be written as a ratio. And since it can be written as a ratio, we can find all kinds of equivalent ratios that are equal to 90 over 10. For instance, this could be equal to 9 over 10. This could be equal to 18 over 20. All kinds of ratios that are equivalent to that. Now remember what a proportion is. A proportion states that two ratios are equal. So if I know 90 over 100 equals 18 over 20, this is a proportion. And if I have any of those parts missing there, any of those four numbers that are missing there, I can solve it by using cross products like we did when we were solving proportions. So we can use proportions to solve percent problems. So the percent proportion, what we usually do is put part over whole. And if we're looking down here, focus down here. So if I wanted to find out what 3 out of 4 is as a percent, I could put 3 over 4, 4 on the bottom being the whole amount, 100 on the bottom on my percent because 100% is everything. And then 3 out of 4 is equal to what ratio? And that would be equal to 75 over 100. So let's put this to use, finding some missing parts. So what percent of 15 is 12? So we have two numbers there. But you always have a number that you know when we're dealing with percent. The whole percent is always 100%. So we know that part. The other side, now I have to decide, is the 15 the whole amount of the number or part of the number? So it says what percent of 15? So 15 is the whole number. So that's going to go on the bottom, matching the whole percent over here on the left. The part is 12, so 12 goes on top. So the thing I don't know is what percent. What number is going to go on top here? So what goes on there? How do we represent the unknown in an equation? We put x. Now we have a proportion that we can solve. All we're going to do is cross multiply like we've done in the past. So I'm going to go 15 times x. That gives me 15x equals 1,200. So I take each side, divide it by 15, and when I do that, I get x equals 80. So my answer here, what percent, so x would now go back over top of 100, so I have 80 over 100, and we know that that is equal to 80%. There you go, that's finding the percent. So let's look at another problem, finding a part. So I always like to start with the percent. So the percent's given here 36. I'm going to write that down as the given ratio of 36 over 100. Now, on the other side, the top is the part. I'm just going to write that out here. This is the part, this is the whole. If we looked at the percent over here, the part of the percent is on top. So this is part of the percent. That 36 is part of the whole percent of 100. So on the other side, I have to have the part on top and the whole amount on the bottom. So I have to decide, is that 50 part of the number or 36% of the number? What is 36% of 50? Of 50. Usually the word of gives away the whole. So 50 goes on the bottom. And the thing I don't know in this one is the part. So now I have that proportion that I can solve. So I'm going to multiply this. 100x equals, that's 1800. Oh, this is 100x. So again, we're going to get that x by itself. So divide by 100, divide by 100, and x equals 18. So what number is 36% of 50? 18. Now I'm not going to put a percent in there. It didn't ask for a percent. It's asking for a number. Now let's look at finding the whole. All right, so 150%. Now remember, 150% is more than 1 whole. So I'm going to write that percent down. 150 over 100. Percent over 100 is how we write that as a fraction. Of what number? So remember, part on top, whole amount on the bottom. Of what? Usually of gives away the whole. So the thing I don't know is the whole amount. So my x goes on the bottom. Is usually gives away the part. So 24 is only part of some other number. So here's my proportion, my cross products. When I cross multiply, 150 times x is 150x. And this equals 2,400. 100 times 24 is 2,400. So now divide by 150. Divide by 150. And you get x equals, and I'm going to use my calculator for that. So again, don't be afraid to use calculator. 2,400 divided by 150 equals 16. 16. And were they asking for a percent? No. Your answer is 16. Now, you might be saying, well, wait a minute, 24 was bigger. Well, 150% is more than the original number. 150% is the original number and then some. So yes, it makes sense that the original number was 16. 24 is what percent of 16? It's 150% of it. So yes, it does make sense. All right, let's look at another way of doing this. Now, the ones that we've just done were part over whole, but we can also set it up another way, and sometimes this is useful as well. We can put part over part and whole over whole. So if I take part of the number, put it over part of the percent, this will form a proportion that's equal to the whole amount of the number over the whole percent. This will still work, and it will give us our cross products. So if we do it this way, so I can start here, and I'm going to put part over part of the percent equals the whole percent. Whole percent is always 100. And then part, no, not part, whole of the number. The whole number will be right here. So let's put our parts in the right spot and our wholes in the right spot. So 100% always goes here. So it says what percent? Well, part of the percent is the part I don't know, so that's going to be the x. Of 20, so that of means the whole amount, so 20 goes over here. And then is 16. 16 is part of the number. So now do your cross products just like before. 20x equals 1,600. Divide each side by 20, divide by 20, and you get x equals 80. What percent? 80%. Here we need to put the percent sign back on. All right, so what's different here is we're putting part over part and whole over whole. The other examples that we had done, we had put part over whole. All right, so here, let's try another one, finding the part. All right, so same thing, we're going to go part over part, whole over whole, and I'm not going to write out the part and the percents, but percents I keep along the bottom. So here's 100% on this side. That 60% goes over here. And you don't have to put the percent in there, but you can. Of 80. Of is the whole amount. 100% was the whole amount, so that's going to go over here. And above here is going to go the x. What is? All right, my cross products here. Let me scroll a little bit here. So that's going to give me 100x equals 4,800. Divide each side by 100. Divide by 100, and you get x equals 48. Now again, what were they asking for? They were not asking for a percent, so we're not going to put a percent on that. What number is 60% of 80? And that kind of makes sense, right? Because I know 50% is half, and half of 80 is 40, and 60% is more than 50%. So yeah, that makes sense. 48 makes sense there. All right, let's try one more. So finding the whole. Okay, so we're going to use the part whole thing again. I'm going to do a different color so we don't get mixed up here. So I'm going to set up my proportion. 100 automatically goes on the bottom. So since I know 100 is all of the percent, I want to look for all of the number. 40 is 60% of a number, so of the whole number, and I don't know that, so what goes here is X. On the bottom is going to be part of the percent. Well, 60 is part of the percent. And then on top is going to go my 42 because that's part of the number. So part of the number over part of the percent, all of the number over all of the percent. Cross products here give me 4,200. That's 100 times 42 equals 60 times X. One-step equation, we're going to divide by 60, and we get X equals 70. Does that make sense? 42 is 60%. So 60% is more than half. So is 42 more than half of 70? Yes, it is. So 70 is the answer there. I'll write that a little clearer. All right, so two ways of doing it. We can do part over whole or part over part. Part over part might be easier as we get into some of the more complicated problems. But there you have it. Two ways of doing percent proportions to figure out percents, parts, and wholes.